Welcome to the Magnetic Man podcast, where we help guys become men they can be proud of, who attract women that they're proud to be with. And in today's episode, I'm very excited to talk with Fernandez, who's a movement coach, aka the Chocolate Daddy, as he's well known in circles around Australia and where he goes on his travels. So Fernandez is a man with many talents, many areas of expertise, many adventures of exploration he's been on in his life. And I'm excited to hear his perspective on things, hear his perspective on his journey in terms of how that related from a fitness perspective, as well as adding a conscious element to what he does. From his journey, as I understand it, he's gone through many areas of development and growth on that. And I'm keen to just unpack that all today so you can get an understanding of what do different levels of growth mean? What does it look like when a man goes through these levels? And also, what are the implications on his confidence and his self-esteem and how that affects his dating life as well? So, Fernandez, great to have you here on the Magnetic Man podcast.
It's probably the first and only time I'm ever going to get that specific intro. So it's fantastic. I love it.
Awesome, man. Anything else to add? I felt like I covered most of the bases, but any just kind of general brief overview for people who might not know you? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, man, 100%. So the term movement coach is very non-specific. It's like, well, what does this guy actually do? But basically, I'm a personal trainer that helps people, I guess, go a little bit deeper and a little bit further than they might go when you think about personal training in general. A really big thing for me is that training is more than just what we do with our body. It's more than just trying to get bigger muscles or trying to get more flexible or even stuff like mobility and longevity. All that's great. But for me, the most powerful thing about training is the person that it helps you become in the process. And I think that when we forget about those kinds of things, we can end up making some concessions that don't really get us where we want to go. In my experience, and we'll probably dive into this a little bit, when we're only training for aesthetics or we're only doing something so that we can maybe gain the validation of other people, I feel like we kind of enter into a contract with ourselves in the beginning where we expect to kind of get what we want by doing that. It's like, oh, I might feel insecure right now. So if I go and get bigger muscles, people will tell me that I'm going to feel more confident and better. Tick, that problem's fixed. And on the other side, we kind of know the $1 million doesn't make you happy. We also know on some level that the six-pack abs don't make you happy. But there's still this cycle where people go through it, realize that doesn't make them happy, kind of fucking hate themselves, but then continue to sell the same message as well. So I'm really big on trying to connect with instead, like, how do you want to move? And what do you want to do with your body? What really fucking lights you up when you think about doing that? And then how do we pursue those goals in the process whilst bringing along and integrating the desire to maybe look better, to feel proud of the body that you have? It's not about shoving any of that stuff away. It's just about taking it off the pedestal, because when we go for aesthetics at any cost, it can be a bit fucking tricky. So that's a little bit more about what I do. And specifically, I help people get there through strength skills. So stuff like handstands, muscle ups, handstand push-ups, fun stuff that you also build muscle and strength with.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that overview. And what stood out to me from that is almost how you see it almost from a multi-dimensional approach. That was the word that was sticking out for me. It's like, I'm not just getting this to get the specific results. Cool, looking better can be a part of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even in my own very limited journey with gym experience, like, I didn't care about anything else. It's like when in my early 20s, like when I started hitting the gym, it was mainly because I felt like I wasn't really attractive around women. So you like look at around, like, what do women want? And then you like look around and like you see these guys with the big muscles, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm skinny, so let me get that solved, and then maybe women will want me. And there's nothing wrong with being more attractive for yourself, with women finding you more attractive, but it's kind of that place that it's coming from. And I was willing to eat a bunch of crap, have a bunch of protein shakes with all a bunch of nonsense in them. I actually haven't said this like much because people, it's kind of, I think it's almost funny at the time, but looking back, it wasn't really. Like, I even remember I was in the gym for maybe a year or two, and then like a friend of mine was like, hey man, like, should we do a little bit of like steroids? Because that's really going to help us with the aesthetics. And because I didn't even have really any morals at that place in my early 20s, I was like, yeah, fuck it, like, let's do it, man. And like fucking did it and got all like puffied up. But looking back now, I'm like, what the fuck were you doing? Number one, it didn't even really help me with girls, like hardly at all. So afterwards, I just kind of gave up. I'm like, oh, this is just bullshit. So I really like how you hit on it, because sometimes when you're so focused on that goal and it's coming from like such a desperate place, you're willing to compromise your values, your morals, do whatever you can to reach that, and often you damage yourself more in the process. So yeah, that's just even my own personal experience with what you're saying.
100%, dude. It's such a common experience, and I think the first thing I want to make sure I'm really clear on is that there's fucking zero judgment on any of that. Because if we take one look around at any media source, whether it's fucking Hollywood movies or Instagram or fitness magazines or articles or even just kind of the subtext of social communication as well, those are the messages that we're receiving. It's that if you're like bigger and more muscular and more physically dominant, that's going to have some flow on effect in both your personal confidence. It's going to make you feel better in your own skin. It's going to affect your dating life positively. Those are all the messages we receive. And I'm not saying that they're not true at all. It's just that like when you look a bit closer, it's not like you don't actually get what it says on the packet. And there's no judgment. There's nothing bad about going after building a bigger body. But at the same time, like in my experience and the experience of many, many people I speak to now that I kind of talk about this more, and I think even in the experience of people who are really at the top of that game, not only are they not what I would call the pictures of fitness, in terms of you think, of like a dude on a magazine cover who looks super fucking shredded, right? That dude has probably been dieting really, really, really hard, kind of extreme calorie restriction, and then also, dehydrating himself in order to look a certain way and look really, really dry before they step under that thing. They're under the mic, under the light. They're like smiling and posing in the picture, but they're actually about to fucking pass out. That's not what I would call fitness. Now that's cool, like look great, but it's not what I call fitness. And it's when you look at the top of stuff like bodybuilding and modeling and stuff like that, you also see some of the highest prevalences of disordered eating, some of the highest prevalences of like male muscle dysmorphia and female body dysmorphia, and just a lot of really negative relationships or complicated relationships between bodies and between the relationship to exercise. So I think if that worked, I think we'd see a really different reality. And I think if people could just build a heap of muscle and just like feel really good about them on the inside and then just like everything's fucking sorted, I think we'd see a really different reality. And like my own experience with that is starting exactly the same way. I didn't end up doing any steroids, but still like was really skinny, got bullied for the way that I looked in high school. And I still actually remember I was like sitting in a swimming pool in my like grade 8. So it was like a party. That's like the second year of high school. It was like one of the first parties I got invited to, and there was like some popular kids there. And I remember some girls sitting around the pool and like talking about this guy's body, this other kid named Daniel. I still remember. Actually, yeah, Daniel. And they were like, "Oh my god, wow, he looks so good, looks so ripped." And like I remember that was the point where that memory, that perception started. I was like, "Oh, that's what you have to do to get the attention." And because of a lot of other stuff as well, about maybe some stuff growing up, and I really, really desired that validation and attention and was kind of craving that love from women that I didn't feel like I got elsewhere. And so that created this really perfect storm where I just felt like I was just going to not be enough until I got in better shape. That was like a little subconscious deal I made with myself. I was like, yep, okay, cool. Suck until you get big muscles and then everything will be sweet and you'll get way more girls and all that kind of stuff. And the next course of probably 9 years after that, I was training really hard. I was reading all these bodybuilding articles and trying to do everything right and taking my protein shakes. And not only did I get really fucking injured training ridiculously hard, but I also kind of got to the end of it and never really looked like I made much difference. It was only after that I kind of managed to change some things and make a little bit more progress. I actually built some muscle when I got to the point where I was actually a couple of years down the track working as a topless waiter. So if you think I transfer myself back to that little teenage kid and be like, oh my God, I'm going to be working as a topless waiter, going to be, my dating life's going to be awesome. And in those moments, I felt so fucking the most insecure I could have ever. It was this full front when I'd go to work. I would both starve and dehydrate myself for more than 24 hours in advance of my shifts. I wouldn't eat or drink anything but have a coffee in the morning. I wouldn't eat or drink anything all day. I go to work feeling absolutely shit. And it was all, one, so I felt like I was good enough to do the job, and two, so I felt good enough to stand in front of these women and hopefully be desired. Even when there was attention, there was still all of this internal narrative going on where I didn't feel worthy of it. And so not only did it make me feel shit, but it also didn't help my dating life at all. And you got to be in pretty big struggle town if you're going to be working at the topless waiter in a room full of 20 other women and not be able to like make anything happen. But that's the way that it was. And did I feel a bit more confident in my body? Did I feel like someone was going to bully me for the way I looked? No. But it didn't actually fix any of the internal stuff underneath that was making me feel like I wasn't worthy of both women and love in general, and like kind of positive reinforcement in general. There was way more shit going on. So that's a kind of long-winded way of saying that I think that it's really important that we not only speak about the fact that these kind of journeys of like, even if it's the stuff that you've done in the past, or going and, getting really good with women, or if it's money, or if it's muscles. It's like there's lots of value in those journeys and lots of learnings, but they don't fix what's under the hood. And not only do we have to start talking about that differently, but we have to start doing the things differently as well. The way that we train, the way that we go about business, the way that we go about learning dating, but on both sides, men and women. That's my strong belief.
Yeah, for sure. I think you hit on so many cool, interesting points there. And that's why I like these conversations with you, because you see it on that, again, I'm going to use the word like multi-dimensional level. It's not like, okay, cool, well, we're just going to sit here and love ourselves. That's an extremely important part. But you're out there, you're on the ground, you're in the 3D world. Let's do some handstands, let's do some stuff. But not just try to cover up everything of why I hate myself, which is, I don't know if it's like a human condition. It's like a contract we make when we come to Earth. It's almost like everyone's playing this game of achievement, whether it's in dating and fitness, financially. And some people do kind of realize the fact, like, wait, why am I even doing this? Like, what is it that's driving me? And it's cool because you might go through a place of confusion where you're doubting things that you used to believe was true. But then on the other side of that, it's like, cool, we're human, we're here, we're men, we're in this body, we're on this planet. What journeys do we want to go on? And how can we go on those journeys from a more conscious place, which I feel like you're really blazing the trail in the fitness space for that. So just rewinding back to your kind of journey before all of this understanding, what was like the mental attitude as you're going through it? Like you say, you're skinny, you start getting bigger, you work as a topless waiter, which is pretty much like the complete opposite of that. What was the internal dialogue at the time? Was it still like, hey, I'm cool and stuff like that? Or was it more like, I need to get bigger, I'm not ripped enough yet? So if you could talk a little bit about that, and then also like come up to like the breaking point where like things started to change for you. Was there like a moment where things changed, or was it like a gradual process where you started to see under the hood as you described it? So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I can come at I think there's multiple levels going on at that time. From a purely physical level, I
Mm-hmm.
think this is something that's also
Mm-hmm.
wrapped up in kind of fitness and culture and modern social media culture as well. Where I think a really common element when you train specifically for aesthetics or for the way that your body looks, and you only train for that, enmeshed in that approach is a hypercritical attitude of your body. And I think that that's fine as a part of a sport for the function of like scoring a sport, but it's really fucked up for your own head. And so what it played out for me like was every single time, like before a shift or throughout the week or whatever, like, oh, what do I need to go in the gym and do because this part of my body doesn't look good enough? Because I'm insecure about, maybe I like the way that this part of my body looks, but this part of my body it looks not attractive enough. So how do I organize my time into going and trying to fix that problem? And like, especially when you're willing to go to basically any length to fix that problem, man, it's not a good time inside, my own, it wasn't a good time inside my own head. I'll speak for myself. And so all of those times where I'd be hungry as fuck, or I just want some water. I'd dehydrate myself like from the night before. So I'd stop drinking water the night before. I'd train for about 3 hours on a Saturday morning if I was working that Saturday night. And I'd have a coffee in the morning. So I guess that's some liquid. And I'd have a sauna for about 45 minutes after I train and not drink any water afterwards. Because I don't actually even know if that works. It's just this kind of crazy idea that I had in my head that that's what I needed to do in order to, because anything less than that would have like earned me some kind of criticism or shame. And if that had happened, then I would have been deserved for that. So it's a warped perspective on my own body, on the way that I looked. Again, I don't know if any of that was actually effective or not. I'm certainly not recommending anyone do that because I don't know much about comp prep and that kind of stuff. It's not my area of speciality, but some of it's not that fucking simple. You can't just fucking dehydrate yourself and expect yourself to look, awesome. It's not that simple. But it was the distorted image in my mind going on of like, this is what I have to do to look this way. And no matter the way I looked or not, I still kind of thought I had to do that. So there's that level. And then as far as going and like maybe like at work or whatever it is, like working as a top player, man, I just felt like it was a fucking performance. And I felt there was this like little part of myself on the inside that had been there all along that was still just so scared of being seen and found out for just being like a little scared, what felt like a little scared little boy energy. And there was, I have this like kind of part of myself that I affectionately refer to as like my Mr. Performance that I have a way better relationship with now. This might sound a bit weird. Maybe we'll get into why I use that language in a little bit, but it's like a performative part of my side. And I think we all have this part to a certain extent, but this part of me would run my life, would literally jump onto my face and my body and start fucking steering the wheel. And it really, not only in my work life, was created that barrier between me and the other people that would stop me from being hurt as much because it was just this performance, but also in my personal life and in my relationships, it would really, really fuck those up because I felt like I was so unable to be truly vulnerable and truly myself because I was so scared of being seen for being who I thought I was, which I thought that was really shameful. So I think what happened was that over time, I just realized it didn't work. And the more and more I started to look elsewhere outside of, I went through a period of quite deep depression in around 2015, 2016. I got to a kind of breaking point there. I had a chance encounter with a friend. It's quite a long story, but it kind of ended up pulling me out of that. And that's when I started to look in other areas other than just the physical or just money for like, why do I feel the way that I feel? And it was the first time I kind of realized there are things out there that I can do to take responsibility and take charge of what the kind of thought loops I felt like I was stuck in on the inside of my head. And I knew that there was answers out there. And that's when I started to go searching in other areas. And it was really searching and just realizing that what I'd done just didn't work at all. When it didn't work the way I thought it was, that started to get me to look in different places. And that's the only thing that led me to start to train in different ways. Because I just tried it so many fucking times, it didn't work. And all the people who'd done it said it didn't work either. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you got to go down that path. Maybe that's just part of your journey at that time in your life. You got to go down that path. You got to make all that money. You got to sleep with all those women. Or you got to get that amazing bod. And then you get there and then you're like, well, what the hell is this all about? I still feel the same, or I still feel like shit. And I think a big part of that, I was doing an exercise this morning, like one of a Jordan Peterson self-authoring exercises. And it was like talking about a moment from your past. And I remember when I was in high school, I made like the first team soccer when I was like one of the youngest guys. And the whole time up until that point, it's like I was never even in like the A team. You'd have like A, B, C. I was always in the B team, always in the B team. And then like I went to the trials and I had a really good trial. And the coach was like, hey, you're coming up to the first team. And on the surface, that looked like a really cool thing. But it's almost like I couldn't let that success land. It was a terrible 2 years because the whole time I'm like, you don't deserve to be here. You got lucky. You lucked out. I was even playing paddle yesterday here in Bali. And I just remember one time in the game, I like hit a not a good shot. It went out. And immediately I was totally unconscious. Like I just say to myself, you fucking idiot. And like after that, there was like a moment of awareness, like whose voice is that? Like who's
Mm.
saying that? And I've noticed many times in my life where it's like outwardly like achieving really good things, but like this feeling of like not deserving it and then like not allowing it in. Like you can't let it land and actually enjoy the success. For me, it's like because there's a part of me that feels I don't deserve it. I'm unworthy. I'm bad or something like that. And it kind of reminded me when you were talking about being that like topless waiter. And even when there was a tension from women, it's like there's just a part of yourself underneath that like don't feel good about this. You don't deserve this. We all know you're a fraud. People are going to find you out sooner or later. And it's like, even if you achieve all that success without doing that inner work, it's like you can't even enjoy it. So that can
Yeah.
also a trap that a lot of people don't even realize, which is from what I understand you were describing.
Yeah, man. I think you're really hitting on an important point here, because I think when I first heard this and this kind of thing, people speak to this, right? It's like the thing doesn't make you happy. And so then there's kind of two opposite directions that people normally go. One, it's like, I don't believe you, I'm just going to do it anyway, or I feel like I have to do it anyway, and just do the thing in the same way. Or on the other side, it's like, no, therefore that must be bad or evil, or I don't want to be that stupid, so I'm going to completely shun anything that ever looks like that. So when it comes to, let's say, the gym stuff, it's like, oh no, training to make your body look better is vain and arrogant. So therefore, I'm going to not do that at all. I'm going to pretend like I don't care about that at all. And I think that those aren't the only ways. And I think neither of them are the best way. Because it's like developing that competence in the real world is almost like if you think about like a line across, the center, and what's above there is how you behave in the real world. And what's below that line is how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself in those quiet moments when you look inside and like, do I love and respect what I see there? Developing the real world competence is an important part of that. So let's just, I don't know, there's times where, there's real problems in life. For me, I was always really poor. Like I was always really, really bad with money. You can grow up around a whole heap of it. And like, I just felt like I never had a solid grip on that. So me getting to the point where actually I did go and do a lot of internal work on myself and a lot of healing and a lot of really, really deep kind of trauma work. And I went on that, and it was a beautiful journey. But towards the end of that, a lot of the work kind of kept coming back to the place where like, hey man, what are you just going to do differently in the real world? So it's almost like I went and did a lot of that healing work, and then that brought me back to the place where I could do the thing in the real world, but from a different place. And I think that's the most important thing. It's not doing it. If that makes sense. It's not going to the gym. It's not trying to make your career as best as you can be and provide for your family and all of those things. But it's like, can we go and do the work underneath to examine our relationship with these things and go on the journey to heal that as well? Because the real world competence stuff doesn't fix the underneath stuff. Getting more muscles or more money doesn't fix the relationship with ourselves. So they're two different things. And I think the more that we can go on the journey of developing the real world competence in an effective way, a systematic way, and also including some of that deeper work at the same time, means that we don't have to either shun them and pretend like we don't care. We also don't have to go on these fucking huge journeys to come back and realize we didn't actually work, and kind of all of that time and all of that suffering that goes on in those processes. So I really believe in just doing both at the same time.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love that. There's this book by a guy called John Keogh called The Quantum Warrior. And something about that idea always resonated so deeply with me, where he speaks about the idea of quantum. You do the healing work, you do the self love work, you go and investigate this part of yourself, you develop a meditation practice, all of these types of things. But then he's like, you're also a warrior, you're in the world, you've been born into this life. And for most of the people listening, you haven't chosen to be the Buddhist monk who just sits in the cave. Like, that's cool for people who
Yes.
that's really their true calling. But if we're finding ourselves in the world, there's probably a reason for it, And it's like, how can we bring some of that quantum energy, that love energy, and infuse it in a very practical way, in a very boots on the ground manner? And I think that's what you do so well. And just it's like a different energy, you can feel, it might look on the surface like, oh, he's working out with those people. Oh, that those people are also working out. Oh, it's the same thing. But when you get around those people, when you get around people on that mission, it has a total different quality to it. And when people start to operate on that level, like for me, I can go super woo, like I believe in star seeds and we're from different galaxies and we're all come here. And I've gone down rabbit holes like that and I really resonate with that stuff. But then almost like you were saying, it comes back to the point like, okay, well, why are you here, Daniel? Like, why did you choose this life situation? Why did you come up here? Cool, you might be a star seed from the Pleiades, that's all these other things, but you've chosen this human life because there were lessons you came to learn, and that's part of interacting in this 3D world. So yeah, I really like that point that you brought on there. So how did that kind of shift for you? Like, you're going in this fitness, you've done all this bodybuilding stuff, you've worked as a topless waiter. Did you need some time away from fitness or training other people to kind of like, okay, wait, how do I actually see these things, to kind of recalibrate and then go back in with a new type of attitude? Or did you kind of just transition over a period of time as your beliefs and the way you saw yourself and the world changed as well?
Yeah, it's it's kind of a bit of a messy story. I wish it had a better narrative arc because it would be much nicer for me to wrap in a bow. But I moved my life to Sri Lanka to go into business with a guy I'd known for 2 weeks to run a hostel in the middle of the jungle. And surprise, surprise, that didn't work out absolutely perfectly. And I ended up like managing a surf camp for 6 months in Sri Lanka after that. Going to Europe, I was kind of just drifting with my life. I was rapidly running out of money because I was like earning rupees and trying to spend euros. And I ended up going through a brief stint of like sleeping in the street in Spain, just drifting around, kicking the can down the road, avoiding all responsibility in my life. It was a really rough time. Doors just kept closing in my face and I kept just trying to escape all of the responsibility. And I wound up like completely being out of money, like sleeping in the street in Croatia. And I kind of had a bit of an intervention with myself at that time. This is before I did any of the training stuff. The coaching stuff. And I was like, all right, the fucking dumbest thing you could do right now is continue just kicking the can down the road. Like, game's up. It's been fun. It's been a good, soul searching challenge, but shit's going to get really bad if you keep just doing fucking nothing with your life. That was my internal dialogue. And so I took myself to like a library in Split and had like a little shower in the sink. And I still had my like big chunky old laptop with me. So I kind of opened that up and I still have this journal, and it was just like basically gun to your head. What are you going to do with your life? Up until that point, I felt like I'd always just been searching. I didn't, as a man, as a person, have access to that feeling of purpose or meaning. And I'd left on this big year overseas to go and try and find myself. And all that I found, which was hilarious because it was the answer that I needed, but all I found was that nothing is going to happen until you make it happen. And everything, it's all your responsibility. And the continual evasion of that responsibility has led me here. So it just comes down to making a choice. And that's when I realized that all of the training stuff that I've been doing my whole time, I've worked in a ton of different random fucking jobs, from topless waitering to tire recycling, sales, to a bunch of shit. And I just realized like that the movement stuff had been under my nose the whole time. Actually, when I was working in that surf camp in Sri Lanka, I got the opportunity to teach a surf fitness class super randomly. And I actually loved it. So that was the first kind of inkling that this was something I might want to do. So what ended up leading me to that discovery was then coming home and then getting qualified as a PT. I got borrowed money to get home, got qualified as a PT. And then as soon as I started trying to make my business, the first thing I heard from all of the marketing and the business guys were like, find your niche, find the pain point of your client, twist the knife, make sure they really understand that they need what you're selling. And I was like, fuck, okay, what's my niche? I have no idea. And then it took me a long time, and I started to feel like, okay, what's my experience? It was like a quote unquote hard gainer, like a skinny guy that couldn't build muscle for a long time and then managed to build muscle. So I spent about 9 months working on the marketing for this type of business where like, okay, if you're a skinny guy that can't build muscle, here's your problem and blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, I'd also gone and started to do some deeper spiritual work as well, kind of in the parts work realm. And I had a really powerful experience with this one of my mentors, Dinus. He kind of led me on this facilitation, and I had this huge kind of breakthrough experience that made me realize that this whole like self-love journey thing was something I really cared about. and so it wasn't bullshit, it wasn't fake. My skeptical mind was like, had run itself out, and we're like, oh shit, this stuff really works. But then I started to look at my life, and I was like, okay, if I'm really going to lean into this and embody this all the way, what am I doing in my life that's not loving and respectful to myself? And the first thing I saw was my training. And I was like, I'd started to do some movement stuff at this stage, but I was still like trying to pump the weights to look better and stuff like that. And still had this negative relationship with that part of my body. And I was like, fuck, if I'm really going to lean into this stuff and I'm really going to be about what I say I'm about, I'm not just going to do this little meditation and spirituality thing over here and then continue to go and just like continue my own cycle of suffering, and also ask other people to teach them how I got to where I am. And where I got to where I am, I'm like, I still fucking hate my body. I'm like, am I going to go and just like teach other people to do what I did, even though I know that doesn't work? And that was the time. I was like, fuck. I just spent 9 months doing all of this fucking marketing stuff and having no idea what I was doing and deciding on this. I'm the hard gainer guy now. Not that I was not successful or I didn't have much of a business at that stage, but I was like, fuck, if I'm really going to lean into this, I need to basically throw all of that out and start over. But I was really lucky to have some great people in my life as well, and some people further down that path that I kind of saw in the spiritual work that had kind of maybe done similar things, or just, I don't know, I felt like I had some permission, and I was like, I'm going to fucking do it. And so I guess I cut the cord there. I stopped doing the hard gainer stuff, and I started to go on the journey of like, for myself first, if I'm really going to train in a way that is just leaning into the stuff that I want to do because it feels important to me, it feels good to me, what would that be? And for me, that was like doing cool shit on the gymnastics ring, like body weight stuff, like muscle ups and just doing stuff that felt like fun and felt exciting and interesting to me, but still built me strength and muscle. And the ironic thing is that leaning into that and doing the thing that was way more loving and respectful to myself and leaning away for training for aesthetics for the sake of it actually got me in way better shape than I'd ever been before. And also it allowed me to enjoy that so much more because I was just fucking criticizing my body less just fucking 7 days a week. You know what I mean? I trained a lot. And those inputs changed and the reasons for doing them changed. And training was the first step. And I had to go and do that fucking in tons of other areas of my life. I did that in my business. I started to do it with my friends. I started to do, like so many things had to change. And then after when I came to you, that's when my relationship with dating, my relationship with women that had been really, really destructive in the past, I was like, cool, this is the time for me to work on this as well. And so it's fucking really scary, man. That was a really scary step, both for my business and also for me as a person, and what's my body going to look like and all this different kind of stuff. But it's always when I've been on that cliff edge and been like, fuck, am I really going to, what feels like jumping off this cliff? Whenever I've done that, it's always gotten fucking way better on the other side.
Yeah, man. Those are such awesome points that you brought up. This is one of the reasons I want to talk to you today, because I see so many correlations between our journey just in different spaces. You obviously know, but I come from a very when I learned the dating stuff, it wasn't just like love and light and I love myself. It was like, oh my God, like I'm going to end up alone if I don't get this sorted. And I wasn't looking for the most authentic people. I was like, anyone who can help me. And that led me down the whole pickup artist route. And guess what? I became extremely successful with that. Just like you in the gym stuff, it's not like you didn't get anywhere. It's like, no, it actually did work, but I had to go all the way to the end of that road to be, like you said, you're looking in the mirror and be like, am I even proud of the man that I am? Cool. I've slept with hundreds of women and I still feel like fucking shit. And is that the path I want to continue to take men down? And how I was looking for like, okay, cool. Well, what is it that I want to teach? And when I started learning more about the male and female dynamics, but also how it plays out on a very boots on the ground fashion, like that for me was that next level. So that was really cool to hear. Two other big points that stuck out to me, which I thought were really cool, is when you have this moment when you're in Europe, you're traveling around, you're basically homeless. I think you've told me before, like you just like take your guitar out and like play in the street and people would come like throw some coins or money and that could let you buy a meal, which is pretty extreme, but I think it's pretty crazy as well. But you have this moment of, like you say, like, what am I doing with my life? You know, you mentioned the word responsibility a couple of times, and sometimes this can be like a spiritual bypassing thing that people who do get caught up in the personal development, the self-love, the spiritual stuff, it's like sometimes they don't take responsibility because it's like it can to me always be like this maternal kind of self-love where it's like you're just okay as you are, you're
Mm.
35 years old, you sit at home, play Xbox every day, you just eat junk food, but don't worry, you're good as you are. And cool, that might be the underlying lesson. I think every human being is of inherent value, but I think there's also something to be said for more that like paternal self-love. You know, it's like, hey, wake up, you're capable of more than what you're currently doing, and even that from a place of self-love. You know, like one of my favorite movie scenes is The Lion King, where like Simba is just like mucking around and eating bugs with Timon and Pumbaa in the jungle, and he's like, no responsibilities, Hakuna
Mm.
Matata, like who gives a shit, like I'm just doing whatever with life, like peace, brother. But then he gets called by Rafiki, the shaman character, for this encounter with his father, which to me is just his higher self. And he's like, remember who you are, you know, like you're a king, you've got potential. And he's like, yeah, but like I don't know how to do it, or like what's it gonna do? It's like the little ego like complaining. And he's like, remember, you are more than what you're currently demonstrating yourself to be. And I remember like watching that movie like in my 20s and like crying because it just hit me on such a deep soul level. It was speaking to me and that potential you have inside of you. So I'm all for the self-love. I'm all for accepting all parts of yourself and loving those parts. But I think there's also a conversation to be had that I don't hear a lot of people saying, where it's like, well, if I did love myself, how would I be spending my time and energy? Would I just be lying in bed watching series and binge watching YouTube videos? Or would I know that I have something of value, and how can I be of service and share that to the world, which I love is what you've done with your journey. So feel free to comment on any of that. But I'd also like you to get into a little bit of detail in terms of how that self-love journey did play out for you, because I think it's extremely important. You mentioned the term parts work, which I have a
Mm.
basic understanding of, but maybe you could talk a little bit about how you got into that, and then what that kind of showed to you, and maybe some of the realizations that you had when you started to get into that parts work, that self-love work. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, dude. First of all, such a fucking important point what you brought up around the different kinds of love. I don't know, I don't have as much understanding about the maternal or paternal side of things, but I think just where I want to start is that I think there's a big misunderstanding in maybe the wider community and even people who do self-love work about what it really is. Because
Mm.
it's not, I like to think of it like I don't have a child, I hope, but you know, like if I was a parent,
That you
if
know
I was a
of.
yeah, if I was a parent and my son was really, really acting out, he'd done something that was like, you know, really like not in line, is the most loving thing to do for this young human being who I'm responsible for shaping. To be like, you're fine, whatever you do is perfect, it's all good. Fuck no. There's consequences, and we need to learn about the world as it is, you know what I mean? Like there's if I love someone, and often if whether it's my son, if it's my friend, if I really love that friend and I believe they've done something that truly goes against the grain of my values of who they are, if I don't give a shit about that person, I'm probably not going to waste my energy making a big deal out of it with someone. But because I love that person, I will put up with my own discomfort in order to tell this person something that's deeply important to me about their behavior. And the exact same thing is with yourself, to my understanding. Self-love is often not what it looks like or not what people think it is about, oh no, I'm just perfect as I am. There's nothing that needs work. Like, that's not what it is. Often it's the opposite. Often it's because I love myself more, because I'm willing to accept and love that part of myself more, in spite of everything that happened and because of everything that happened. Now what are we going to do together? And that's so much more of the tack that I think that it's a more empowering feeling. It feels way fucking better as well. And like, if it feels like you're bullshitting yourself, you probably are. And there's nothing about self-love that requires you to bullshit. And in fact, it's the very, very, very uncomfortable opposite of that. It's fucking brutal honesty to the depth of your fucking core. Because after some time, after you stop distracting and, you know, doing all this different stuff, when you start to really look inside, it's really hard to lie to yourself. And even when you try, it ends up coming back and knocking on your door harder and harder and harder and harder until the fucking door caves in. So the reason I got it, like, first of all, like, why self-love? Well, I just kept looking in tons of different places and the answer wasn't there. I remember hearing when I was a teenager, someone said to me, no one will ever love you until you love yourself. Now, one, I don't know if that's true, but I remember hearing that and thinking, well, that's basically a fucking death sentence because I hate myself. And it was just kind of this thing that it is. Like, you can't change it. Well, I felt like I couldn't change that. I was like, I look inside myself and I really don't like what I see. And that just was the next, like, 7, 8, 9 years until I started to go and do lots of other different self-development and read books and have these changes on an intellectual level and understand. I watched all these videos and still not very much was changing because it was like, it's like all of the theory was there, but the actual embodiment and the actual emotional reality was very, very different. And I just started to realize I couldn't outthink my way of these thoughts that I had that were really, really painful to me. The thoughts of feeling like I'm not good enough, like I'm not worthy of a partner, or like I'm not worthy of financial success in my business, or I'm always going to be poor or alone, or whatever these little mental dialogues are that can come up when we're in those lonely, those solo moments. I looked fucking everywhere to try and figure out, how do I change that? Some people like, think about it differently, or just try to do these affirmations. And all of it felt like there's that great Einstein quote, you can't solve a problem with the level of thinking that creates it. And it's like just trying to outthink my own thoughts. And so eventually I ended up completely stumbling into, thanks to a couple of friends, this parts work stuff that helped. That was like, I think of it like the skill of self-love. Self-love is a skill that we can develop. Relating to ourselves is a skill that we can develop. One that for me had atrophied for a long time and I had no competence with. But there's just a kind of process of training that you can go for. So if the answer is no for you, there's a process and there's a journey that you can go on to start to have the answer be more and more and more of a yes for you around. Do I love and respect the person that I feel that I am when I look inside? Not when I say it on fucking camera or when I beat my chest in a fucking sound healing or whatever it is. Like, that's great. But how do you feel when you look inside yourself? And to me, the most important skill that we can develop is that skill, of the skill of being like, how do I make that a yes in all its different permutations? And if the unqualified acceptance of myself got me that, I'd do it. If no matter what I did, no matter where I wasn't showing up in my life, if being like, oh, but you're perfect and amazing the way you are, if that worked, I'd be like, fucking sick. But it's just like, I tried that shit and it doesn't work. And I look at the people who preach that and I don't really feel it. So for me, this is the reason I came to the self-love stuff, was because other shit just didn't work for solving the problem that I didn't fucking like myself. And going on the journey to start to change that and start to work on myself and start to develop this competence in relating to myself. And this parts work to kind of introduce this is just the idea that you are not one thing. Michael Fernandez, and many, many different things. There's like the kind of part of me that feels jealousy. There's the part of me that feels pride. There's the part of me that feels hungry. There's the part of me that wants to make something of my career. And they're all just different elements of, and when you put them all together, you make up this kind of wider personality. But there's also something that sits on top of that experiences all those things. And that's what people talk about, the higher self, or people talk about as the consciousness, or whatever it is. Doesn't matter what words you use. But whoever you are is kind of the person in the driver's seat, at least some of the time, or that higher level of consciousness. And all of those different parts of you. Parts work is just the skill of relating to all of those parts of yourself in a way that is grounded in unconditional love. Unconditional love does not mean unconditional acceptance of absolutely any behavior. It does mean unconditional love. And that's fucking really hard. And it's a long road and it's complicated. And it really helps to have a guide, because I did, and I would have fucking been running into walls if I didn't have amazing teachers. But it's like developing that skill. That means that all of the other competencies that we go and develop, whether it's the gym stuff, the money stuff, the dating stuff, just from my myself personally, it's allowed me to enjoy all of the fruits of all of that labor so much more, and with so much less of the downside of, fuck, it didn't make me happy when I got it. Because I'm not trying to make it make me happy. I'm trying to enjoy the thing. I'm trying to work on my career. I'm trying to work on my body. But I'm not trying to use those outcomes to fix myself anymore. And that is one of the best, it's one of the most powerful positions to put yourself in, by just learning the skill of relating to yourself. I don't know if that answers this question.
No, for sure. It's a major skill. You don't get taught that in school while you're learning bloody history and geography and all those stuff, where it's actually one of the most important human skills you can ever have. And it sometimes makes me question so many of these incredible skills. We never get taught them in school. And my conspiratorial mind always likes to drift and say, is there a reason that we don't get taught these things? But let's not go down that route today. I want to keep going down the path because I think it's so fascinating what you're saying. But even just to highlight again, it's even myself in the dating space. Normally, when you see guys that are battling, I'm just specifically talking about men, but it could be women as well. One of the major keys that there could be other things is like normally there's parts of himself that he hasn't yet integrated or become whole with, or even just accepted, and a big one with men and dating is the idea of anger or aggression, because I believe that all emotions do have their own value, and that doesn't mean you need to be walking around smashing things, or someone says something bad to you and you beat them over the head with a stick. But that can also have value in your life. Guess where it can also have a lot of value when it comes to interacting with women? They like to see that protector side of you. And I just see personally in the men's dating space, because it happened to me as well, being growing up like around a really angry father who wouldn't just like show anger in like a natural human way, but mixed with alcohol, it would turn into these violent rages that I would be on the receiving end. And then probably almost as like a young child, it's like anger, bad. And then it's like anytime anger comes up, someone's bullying you in school, someone's disrespecting you, sometimes a little bit of anger helps you fuel a boundary. It gives you power to boundary. Hey, man, like, don't do that. Like you gave the child example earlier. Hey, don't speak to that person like that. That's not cool. Like sometimes that's said, even with loving anger, it's like you can raise your voice, but being very clear and strong. But if it's always like, oh no, well, that means I'm being angry, just like my dad was, and I don't want to do that because I know that's going to hurt the other person. It's almost like I like to see your life as the world as it will almost like people keep taking advantage of you until you learn to say, no, don't do that. You learn to get back in touch with that part of yourself that wants to defend yourself, that's a protector. Why? Because you actually value yourself, because you actually love yourself. If you just let people walk over you like the nice guy would sometimes do, especially around women, he thinks he's doing that because he's being nice and being a good guy. But really, to me, that's a lack of self-respect or self-acceptance, or even self-love, as you would put it. So yeah, maybe like even if you don't mind sharing, like personally, and there were maybe a lot, but what were some of the main parts of yourself that you had disowned? Was it like emotion, like a sadness or an anger? Was it different sensations, or what were some of the big ones that kind of jumped out to you along your journey in this process?
Yeah, fuck, there was so many. But I really like to use the word integrated, because I think that I like the same word, because that to me describes the middle way between rejection and unwavering acceptance no matter what. When we reject our anger, and this is something that I personally did for exactly the same reason as you, for seeing a masculine figure and his dark anger playing out and not only being very destructive in my life, but in the life of my family as well. And seeing that play out wrote into my fucking subconscious, that is not okay. And I never want to be like that. And that was the rejection side. Now, had I gone and done this, and that's not the way, because exactly the same thing happened to me, man. Like there would be like, whether it's girlfriends that I had in the past, like just having no ability to draw a boundary for myself, to speak powerfully about what I want, to even to know what I want. I had completely cut myself off from that aspect of my own self and my own masculinity because there was this part of myself underneath, this little scared boy part of myself again, that thought that if I opened that lid, it'd fucking blow up, and there was inability to control it. And now if I'd gone the other way, that also wouldn't have been the answer. You know, I think it's fair enough that I've seen this huge pendulum shift in men from this, domineering, fucking 50s man who my word goes, and fucking fair enough that people are moving away from that, because that created so much suffering, both in men and in women and everything else. But the other extreme, the polar opposite of that, is also not the middle way. And it's the integration of those two parts. It's like understanding that, yes, I have this angry part. Yes, I also have this part of myself that's fucking terrified of that. And not trying to tell one of them that they're fucked up or that they're wrong or that I hate you or I'm going to choose one over the other. It's like, I fucking understand why both of these parts of myself exist. And even though I'm still responsible for controlling how that comes out in my life, that's where the fucking responsibility comes in. Even though I'm still responsible for that, I can still love and accept those parts of myself as aspects of who I am. Now, it's really, really, really important that, again, it's not fucking self-love just to let your anger blow up just because I fucking love my anger, so therefore, fuck you, and, just like fly off the handle at the smallest thing. That ain't it. That's no responsibility. So it's that we, as I think this, I understand this more from a masculinity perspective, but I also think there's responsibility in the feminine archetype as well. For how we behave in the world is our responsibility. But what's in our internal, whether it's a kingdom or in our internal map of all of the different parts of who we are, it almost makes it easier to integrate those parts of ourselves and have them be expressed in a more healthy way if we've done the inner work to accept and to love those parts of ourselves and to find compassion for the ways in which maybe they've been suppressed or maybe which they came out in ugly, shameful ways in the past. To do the healing work to get yourself back to the zero so that in future instances, I can see with more clarity. Is this a time where I'm like, this is just someone else's shit and I'm not going to really get involved? Or is this a time I'm like, hey, actually, in the previous time, I would have been a fucking nice guy. I would have been scared and I would have been like, oh no, my values aren't as important as making this person happy so that they like me. It's like, no, this is actually one of those times I'm going to be like, hey, fuck that. Or, hey, actually, that's not really something I agree with. Or actually, please, I'd prefer if you didn't do that. And it's kind of, there's no one right way, and it's nuanced. And I think that's why people like to kind of default to one to the other. But that is the experience. I've done that with like my whole nice guy thing. I'm still on that journey myself, very much so. That performance side of myself, I'm a musician. I love to perform. But at the same time, it would run my life and crop up in my relationship and stop me from being vulnerable. I've done that with my sadness. I've done that with my anger. So many different. It's honestly, it's endless, and I would never ever pretend that I'm done with that at all. But I don't think we ever have to be done. I think for me, it's like I hear jiu-jitsu people talk about how like they want everyone to get to blue belt just because like that baseline level of competence. Blue belt's like the second rank. You have a white belt, and you have a blue belt, and then there's all these other belts after that. You don't have to be a fucking black belt in this shit. But it's like just getting yourself to a baseline level of competence allows you to live the rest of your life in such a way that you feel it's like the day-to-day experience of being yourself is so much less painful. At least that's the way it's been. And whenever I teach this stuff, I'm not like, you don't have to fucking go and become a monk or do everything overnight. It's like, no, just a baseline level of competence, baseline awareness of all the different parts of yourself and the ones that have played a major role in your personal story. Starting to integrate those so that all of the ways in which they really tangibly affect your life in a painful way, you can start to be like, cool, now I don't feel that sad or scared part of myself has such a fucking stranglehold on the whole of my life. The part of myself that feels unworthiness had a stranglehold on my ability to show up and work in my business. I would self-sabotage constantly. So I talk a lot about the skill of, overcoming self-sabotage. And the answer is fucking self-love. Because as soon as I could integrate those self-sabotaging parts of myself, the parts of myself that felt like I wasn't worthy of success, now I'm a billionaire. No, like, just like now at least I don't feel like those parts of myself control myself nearly as much in my pursuit of greater and greater career success. Long rant again, but that's why I believe this stuff is so important. Just to get a baseline handle on these different parts of ourselves, because they hold us back in really tangible, painful ways, and it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. I love your rants. Keep going on rants. That's good.
Uh,
Again, a couple different points coming out from there. Just because obviously we've been talking about masculinity, femininity. Just like you said, I believe we are going to a new level with all this stuff. It almost reminds me of, I believe, the biblical story of like the prodigal son, where a father has two sons, and the one wants all his inheritance now, and he takes all his money and he goes out and he basically gambles it and loses all of it, and he's sleeping in the pigsty with the pigs and all these things, and he's too embarrassed, he's too ashamed to go back to his father. And when he does finally end up going back, it says that his father loves him more than he did when he was originally there. And I believe this is just my opinion, that masculinity and femininity are going on these journeys where it's like the old school, like you said, the 50s, like man who just like gets home, is like, make me a sandwich, bitch. You know, like he's like left the building, and on his outward journey, he's swung hard to the other side, the phenomenon of the nice guy. In Japan, I don't know if you know about this, they even have a phrase called the herbivore men, where you can look it up on YouTube. It's basically describing the nice guy. Guys, they've just disconnected from dating and from the world. They just work their little 9 to 5 job. They just go home, play Xbox series. They're not interested in any of this stuff. And to me, that's a swing too much to the other end. And some of the work I'm trying to do, some of my intention is, okay, cool. How do we bring back those masculine principles from a more integrated, healthy way, and try to fuse that in? And even with femininity, it's like, again, the submissive housewife of the 50s who's just like, yes, dear, no, dear, and she can't even vote or drive or whatever. Now it's like swinging hard to the other side where it's like all this like women empowerment and like leadership and dominant. And again, like you're on your own journey. If that's what you really resonate with, awesome. But I think a lot of women are being fed this pill of woman empowerment, but it's almost like masqueraded, where women are just like stepping more and more into their masculine. Maybe some women really enjoy that, but for a lot of them, they're just getting burnt out. And it's also interesting to see them starting to come back, and how do they step into their receptivity, their femininity, their submissiveness, and not have such a negative connotation around that, and do that from a more healthy, integrated way. So I thought that was really, really interesting what you said. And then the second part is, just like you said, when you have that as a foundation, that inner work, that self-love, whatever you've done, when you actually go into interact with the world from a business perspective or a fitness perspective or a dating perspective, not only do you enjoy it so much more, but you can also like make progress quicker. I've obviously we've been working together in the dating realm, and it's been really cool to see that you've gone out there and done so much of that work. And then when we work together and cool, we want to know some things about female psychology, we're wired a bit differently. Okay, cool, we want to have some conversational skills or frameworks, so we have some tools that we can work with. All of a sudden, I know when you've applied those, even in a small way, it's like boom, like things happen, things kick off. Where I've also worked with guys where it's like they haven't really done that inner work, and they think that this tools or frameworks, or they just get a little trick, like it's just going to solve their issues. And for some guys it does work, like just like in anything, you actually apply the stuff, you use tools, you can get out of results. But either they don't enjoy it, or it's like I've seen with a lot of guys, it's they just can't break through. And I'm looking at some of these guys and I'm like, nah, man, you got deeper issues here. It's not just about interacting with women. It's like there's some deeper stuff going on that this alone isn't going to shift. And I feel they're being invited to that journey. Do you see that also with like clients in the fitness space? Like maybe someone comes in there, but it's like they're kind of coming in with all this baggage, and you're like, cool, we'll work on the fitness, we'll do the handstands and stuff. But man, I also feel like there's some other stuff that you need to address as well. How do you see that kind of playing out in the fitness space?
yeah. Look, definitely. Everyone's on their own journey, right? And I Again, I'm definitely not coming at this from the perspective of like I've got it all figured out and I'm like the fucking mastered this self-love stuff. But again, I think it's just like one of my favorite quotes is by this meditation teacher, John Kabat-Zinn. And the quote is, "After enlightenment, the laundry." And it's such a beautiful quote, man.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like, and I use the word enlightenment lightly, but it's like after all of this spiritual work and this healing and this trauma and stuff like that, let's just say that you go and do this stuff and you fucking do it 110%. And all of that trauma and the past thing and the childhood experiences, and you fucking healed it, and you looked everywhere and you're like, just like, shooting down trauma. And let's just say that you're fully like, oh, cool, I'm all healed. This is amazing. It's like, and you wake up in the morning, it's like, what do you want to do? You look around at your life and you're like, how do I want to live and what kind of experiences do I want to have and who do I want to have them with? And so for me, I'm definitely not saying nothing to do with enlightenment. But for me, I went on my own spiritual journey and I did the self-love stuff as really hard as I could. And it kept coming back to the same place of waking up and like a lot of the parts of myself that had run my life for a long time didn't have this stranglehold over me anymore. But I was like, cool, I'm still pretty poor. And I kind of like to have some more freedom to do stuff. I'd love to spend some more time with my friends. And I also really like to explore what it's like to have a partner like this. Because I look back at all of the ways in which all of my parts had played out in my previous relationships. And there was responsibility on the other side too. But ultimately, my life is my responsibility. And the way that I behave is my responsibility. And I could see tons of not only quite unattractive to other people behaviors, but also just like insecure attachment styles on my side. Like I was a major contributor in both the people that I was selecting for and also the way I would behave in relationship to those women in the past that had led me to have like not many quality and long relationships. And I've met incredible and beautiful women, but it's like the long-term relationships, I've hardly had any. And that was because of all these walls I had up like that. So it's like, can we get to the point, this is the fitness stuff as well, it's like, can we get to the point where we're like, or at least do them concurrently so that we're like still working on our responsibility and our relationship with those parts of ourselves, but also doing the thing at the same time. And so everyone's on a different stage of their own fitness stuff. Yes, for sure. I see people who come and maybe have some more, maybe their relationship with their body has been more complicated in the past. I have like a huge discovery process that I go through people both in like a movement assessment, but also just like a lifestyle questionnaire where I get to where I have a bit of a look at their relationship to training in the past and their relationship to food and stuff like that in the past as well. And so I get a bit of an idea through there when someone comes to work with me. But I think even without any of the parts work stuff, just it's like the value set that I bring to my clients and the container that I create there, I really try and have those be values that are empowering values for people. So if I notice, because for example, in the past, I'd be like, oh yeah, but I just look like fucking shit today, or I'm just, but I'm just a fucking twig. So, and I joke about myself in these ways. So if I ever hear a client doing that, I'd be like, hey man, you don't have to talk about yourself like that. Or like, oh dude, you're actually doing fucking awesome. Or, hey man, but like, look at all this progress that you're making. And I think that like this is what I really think about. It's up to all of us to create the future that we desire, both for ourselves and for future generations. And so the sooner that we each individually stop doing the shit that's most harmful and disrespectful to ourselves, the more that we can create a better future. Maybe that's more kumbaya shit, but that's something I truly believe. And I'm going to do whatever I can to make that whatever size impact I can on that. So I start with the people that I work with and just try and be like, create that culture to be like, how are we going to relate to ourselves through this modality of training and what's okay and what's probably not healthy and what am I going to be like? That kind of shit doesn't really fly here.
Yeah, for sure. There's a million people teaching personal training. There's a million people teaching how do you grow your business, or there's a lot of dating coaches out there. So it's not just about, okay, I need a dating coach or I need a personal trainer, but I would encourage people like to look for someone where you're like, wow, I really resonate with their values. Is that the kind of person that I would be proud to be seen by my side, or am I kind of like embarrassed and ashamed of that? So I really love that you hit on that point. And this was also something you said earlier. I just made a little note of it. I want to go back to it because I think it's really important, where I think you're saying in like jiu-jitsu or whatever, they say, hey, just get to a blue belt, like just get to a good level of understanding. And to me, this also is a good idea when it comes to like the idea of balance, even with the dating stuff. I don't want to teach guys, or now anyway, it's like, I don't want to teach guys to be like the world's best seducer and like sleep with hundreds of women and all these kind of things, because I'm like, that can actually cause a lot more harm than it can good. Like come learn some social skills, learn some female psychology, go learn how to go up to a stranger and start a conversation and see if there's a good match between you. Those are all concrete, really good skills to learn. But if you like get obsessed with it and there's this other weird drive going on, then it can like take you down some dangerous paths. I was at lunch with a guy the other day, and he was also similar to fitness. And he's like, in the beginning, I just read all this bodybuilding stuff, and I just eat more, and like I wasn't listening to my body, and I just became more and more. And then he was talking about how he realizes like I didn't even really want that stuff. Now I just want to keep fit and like keep maintained. But sometimes that like desire and push to like be the best and like the black belt and stuff, like I guess if you have that authentic, genuine desire, like awesome, go take it. But sometimes like I've noticed that in myself and in others, it's almost like it's never enough, and I gotta do it because I'm trying to prove something to someone or prove my own worth. So I'm sure that comes up in the fitness spaces as well a lot. But get that base level understanding and expertise of your body, and make sure your life is in balance, because you'll see these guys where it's like their dating life is epic, but they don't have any money, or like their health is terrible, or vice versa. It can come up in any form or variation. It's like get to a good level so you got a healthy balance and you come across as a more grounded man. And that's really attractive, whether it's to clients or to women or to friends or any of those types of things. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Anything to add on that point?
Yeah, 100%, man. I think like we're fucking human beings, and we're always gonna be grossly imperfect, and we're always gonna have lots and lots of problems. And the thing I love about the self-love stuff or the past work stuff or how just anything to do with developing competence in relating to yourself in a way that isn't purely based in horrendous suffering, right? That's really what we're talking about here. It's like, who are you when you bring yourself to those problems? How are you able to relate to yourself in all of those problems? And the reason that the self-love stuff is such a bit of a master key with all of that stuff is it helps you work on the relationship that you bring to any problem. So I'm far from an expert in the dating stuff, right? Very, very green and that, and like, and I'm really learning. And that stuff for my whole life was super, super scary and painful because of how many parts of myself there were wrapped up in the unworthiness and if someone rejects me, therefore I'm undesirable. I think that many of us have these kind of subconscious scripts. It's like, do you act in the presence of that as well? And it's not like those parts of me have gone away. Quite the opposite. I know them much more intimately now. But at least, and I'm still working on this for sure, but it's not stopping me from showing up in a way that I feel as authentic nearly as much. And it's also like it's allowing me to work on just the thing in a kind of like just a more chill way. It doesn't have to be this whole fucking holy shit, I live and die, my worthiness lives and dies by this. It's like, nah, I still looked around and I was like, hey man, I'd like my dating life to be better. And I asked one of my good friends, Andrew Mioch, like, hey man, do you know anyone who can help me work on this from a place that's not completely like just pure manipulation and fucking suffering? And he was like, yeah, fucking Daniel White. And I was like, all right, sick, let's go talk to this guy. So it's not like I just, did this self-love stuff and I'm like, now I'm healed and everything is amazing. I was like, no, quite the opposite. I was like, okay, I have a bit of a better relationship with myself, but I'd like to make something of my life as well. I'd like to go and see what I'm capable of in my career. And there's still parts of me that want to do that to prove that I'm worthy as well. So none of this stuff's gone away. I'm just able to kind of catch it a little bit more and be like, that's that part of myself. And I think one of the last things I'll say on the parts work is what part of the process, the very first thing that you do after you kind of slow down and chill out a little bit is you do what's called dissociation. And dissociation can have multiple words, but it's just the idea of like recognizing and naming a part of yourself and be like, oh, hey, that part of myself, I recognize you as a part of myself. You can be like, hey, Mr. fucking, I don't know, suffering or attachment to success. This is a part of me. And when you do that, you now know it's not you. It's just a part of you. It's a real part of you. It can have real downstream consequences, but it's not all of you. And the process of that immediate disidentification with that part just allows you not to completely be controlled by it. Because when we don't know that we're not a part of ourselves, it's really easy for that part of ourselves to control all of our actions. When I'm like, that's just that part of, like, I put up a post and it doesn't get that many views. And this part of myself's like, fuck, man. I thought I was trying really hard, but I'm just not, I'm just not getting anywhere. I'm never going to be fucking Insta famous. And that can be a thought that pops into my mind. And I can be like, that's just that fucking part of myself that wants some validation. And I can dissociate with that part of myself. And then I can still be like, hey, man, what's going on? Maybe that part of myself's got something to say. Or maybe it's just like I don't hate that part of myself and I don't have to push it down and shove it away. I just recognize that it's there. And that's all that has to happen. And so when it's like the presence of a part of myself or the presence of a thought used to feel like a fucking death sentence to me. I'm like, fuck, there's this doubt. Do I really love myself? Or there's this insecurity about this woman that I really like. And the presence of that used to be like, well, fuck. But now I can be like, that's just that part of myself. And I know I'm now able to have the skill of relating to that part of myself in such a way that I can kind of process whatever's going on and then just kind of get back to doing things in a way that hopefully is a little bit more the way that I truly want to.
Yeah, I love that. It's like a radical self-acceptance. Not that you're condoning everything, but it's like, oh, there's just another part of myself. Seeing everything as part of yourself. It reminds me of that Rumi poem, The Guest House. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've heard it or heard it before, but he talks about how yourself is a guest house, and every day a different guest. Today anger, today sorrow, today joy. Awesome, welcome them all in. And I've always kind of read that poem in times where things have been a bit challenging for me. And yeah, you have to have a baseline level of awareness, which it sounds like the work you did with parts work, it brings more of awareness. Oh, what was that? Oh, I'm starting to catch it a little bit more, because without that awareness, it's like you don't even know how caught up you are in all these webs. And I guess even for myself, like one of the ways that I'm sure I definitely know I got a lot of healing work still to do. It's before I even got into like the dating journey, so to speak, I remember having this conversation with myself where I remember going through like a breakup with a girl in my early 20s, and I'd be out like with my mates and partying and drinking and all this type of stuff, and like this girl broke up with me, and it was just like so painful. It was like so much pain in my body, and it's just like escape. Like I need to get the hell out of this. And I remember that night, like people were like, cool, we're going out to the bar tonight, and not telling anyone, obviously, because I was so scared. It's like I'm just doubling up the drinks, and I'm having extra shots. This is before we even go out. We're just chilling at someone's house. I get so hammered drunk, I pass out, I'm throwing up. I don't even make it to go out and have a fun night. But I couldn't tell anyone. I was just like in so much pain. I'm like, drown it out, drown it out. A year or so later, dating this other girl. Again, she breaks up with me. This pattern would happen to me all the time. This pain, this rejection would just come up. At this point in my life, I'm starting to get into health. I'm not drinking anymore, but I'm smoking weed still. So the first thought that comes into my head is like, I just want to smoke a fat blunt, like I just want to smoke a fat joint. It's just like get away. I just want to run away from all of this pain. So that's exactly what I do. A year later, and this is where things shifted for me. Same situation, girl I really like, we're dating a little bit, hardly even. She breaks up with me, she just wants to be friends. Now I'm not drinking, now I'm not smoking weed. The first thought that comes into my head is like, I just want to eat a fat, greasy, cheesy bacon burger, And the first time in my life, I was like, wait, I see what's going on there in my head. Like the mechanism at the end, whether it's alcohol or weed or bad food, that's all just like the end escapism thing from not wanting to be with that feeling. And that was the first time in my life that weekend, I just went and locked myself in my bedroom and I said, I'm not running from you anymore. Your hurt, your rejection. I'm like, like I just had a conversation with it. Like you said, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I've never like given you the time of day to be here. I'm sorry that I rejected you and ran away from you and tried
Mm,
to not give you the time of day that you were looking for. Is anything you'd like to say? And sometimes I could have a bit of a conversation, they'll come up and it'll go down again and they'll come up again. And my life definitely didn't change after that, but something majorly shifted in my life after that. I was like, oh wow, like that was a huge turning point for me. And my patterns in relationship, funny enough, actually shifted after that as well. So that was just a personal story from me, even though I haven't done parts work in a formal setting like you have. I think people can start to integrate this into their lives. Go do some formal training as well. I'm sure that'll help a lot, but you can
mm.
even start to see what are those things or feelings or emotions in your life that you could start having conversations with and just letting them be there without trying to run away from them and push them away and drown them out with porn or alcohol or all of these things. So yeah, that's just something to add.
That's a beautiful story, man. And you're, dude, like it's actually crazy.
Mm.
Like a lot of I speak, the more people I speak to who've just done other kinds of spiritual work have often kind of arrived, like the parts work and stuff is just a self dialogue, right? If you have a guide there, they're maybe guiding you and showing you stuff. Maybe
Mm.
what you're saying is having some underlying expectations, or is maybe, you know, another part of yourself coming to the table. But it's just having a conversation with yourself. And the
Mm.
more that you can do that in a way that's authentically loving for yourself, the more that you can just like my housemate's got over just climbing over the banister. Um, yeah, the more that you can do that authentically to yourself in a way to like, oh no, I'm actually doing this because I believe it. That's the skill. That's all that it is. And the other thing is, well, that escapism, spirituality can be an escapism, just like the fucking burger, just like the fucking porn, just like anything else, man. Like people, and that's another side of the coin.
Mm.
It's easy to get lost in this kind of mental masturbation of, oh, I'm just working on myself and doing all this kind of stuff. And really, the only thing that's important is like, do you actually believe it? Do you actually feel the way that you say you're feeling? And, you know,
Mm.
do you actually still show up and behave in the world in a way that's not only like loving and respectful to yourself, but also to other people as well? Do you live by the values that you're preaching? So, yeah, I think those like, yeah, I just really love that point that you made about like, I'm not going to run from it anymore, because I think we all go through this process of trying really hard. And if it worked, we'd all be like fucking way happier. But like, it doesn't. And so I think that
Mm.
my one of my early mentors had this analogy. Asher Packman, great meditation teacher and a great teacher in general. He has this analogy of the feather, the brick, and the train. And it's like when life has some message to give you. First of all, it's going to give you a little tickle on the face with the feather. It's like, oh, what's that? And you can listen to those. Same thing in your body. If you're training and you get like a little bit of like, you're doing some dips and you're like, oh, my elbows feel a little bit funny. That's the feather. You can listen to those. You can correct course. But if we ignore those signs, then the brick comes, flies over. Oh shit! Smack in the head with a brick, and you might get a few bricks. That's like when it starts to ache a little bit more in the elbow. It's like, oh shit! I know another person broke up with me, or oh, you know, I maybe had a little scare, a health scare, and you can listen to those, and you can correct course, and you can take the lesson, and then there's the train. And normally you don't get many trains and many chances of that train. So that's when some real shit happens in your life, real fucked up stuff. And it's that progressive escalation, and like, when are you going to learn the lesson that has, that is offering to be being given to you right now? And sometimes I've caught it early. I try and catch the feathers now, but fucking had some bricks and probably even had a train before. So some narrow avoidance. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love that analogy, and it's almost like the way I see that, because I'm sure everyone feels this in their life. It's almost like a loving universe trying to help you evolve, but sometimes you're not listening to the tickles. You know, sometimes you got to throw some loving bricks at you. Sometimes you got to stand on the train tracks of the Love Express train and just let it fucking completely demolish you, because then finally something might shift for you. You know, it's like that thing. It's like sometimes you got to hit rock bottom before you can start bouncing up again. And I just always see this in my life trying to communicate with me and giving me lessons. Do I have the awareness to actually see that and perceive it? Well, if not, don't worry, the lessons are going to keep coming. But hopefully we want to get to a point where they don't have to come in such a strong, maybe violent type of way for us to be able to heed the call. And I think cultivating your awareness helps you pick up on those signals so much more. Kind of one
I
of the
actually love to
last points
jump
I
in
wanted
just
to
on that,
go
if that's cool.
to yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Just, I really agree with what you're saying, but there's a thing about the awareness for me. I'd heard a lot that like the awareness is the first step, right? And it is. Because like I said, until you don't know that part, that you're not that part of yourself, it's very, very difficult to do anything. Until you have the awareness of a problem, very difficult to do anything.
Yeah.
But sometimes the awareness can almost be like a knife. Sometimes the awareness can almost be like if I have the awareness, but I don't have the tools to do anything about it, it can feel like a prison, you know? And that's how it felt for me. I felt like I had some level of self-awareness. I think that I maybe have like a very work in progress theory that like often self-awareness comes to people who maybe go through some more stuff earlier in life. And it comes a bit earlier to people like that, because if we're consciously having to watch how we behave in order to avoid some kind of external conflict or repercussions, that like it's like an evolutionary adaptation to be quite self-aware of your own thoughts and behaviors, right? But without any tools, that awareness can be really confining, because it's like, well, I'm aware of all of its problems, I just don't know how to fix them. And I want to make sure that with the self-love stuff, I'm not giving the image of like, you know, no problems, you can just deal with anything as it comes and blah blah blah. Like shit still hurts and shit's still painful, but it's like in the moments where stuff's gotten hard, it's like I have tools, and it doesn't feel like that same level of fucking hopelessness and like, oh shit, I have no idea what I'm going to do here. It feels like this is really like true fucking rock bottom and I have no idea what to do or where to go. It's like, at least I have some kind of fucking tools to deal with myself in the middle of really fucking hard shit that's going to happen to all of us and has happened to all of us and will probably continue to happen to all of us as well. So that's just what I wanted to say on the awareness piece. Like, yes, it is the first step, but there's also more steps, and you can go on those more steps and like things can get way fucking better.
Yeah, for sure, man. That actually ties into my last point that I want to bring up. Again, it's multi-dimensional. Cool. We got the self-love, we got the awareness. Now, what can I do about it? Cool. How can you create an awesome, successful business that's in alignment with you and you make awesome money and go do things that you love? You know, how can you get the dating tools on a Hey, there's a girl sitting in a cafe. What can I do there? You know, cool. I love myself and all parts of myself, but what's a good way to start a conversation? You know,
Yeah.
how can I get that ball rolling? Um, there's a quote in there's a book by Stephen Pressfield. I think it's Turning Pro, and he talks about this quote where he says, "The amateur waits for their full healing, the professional plays hurt." And you could see that in a way of like, oh well, you should still heal and stuff like that, but just like you said, it's always a balance. Sometimes people on the spiritual healing side of things, like, wait, I'm not ready yet to start the business. I've got more healing to do. You know, it's like I'm not ready yet to like go out and get involved in my dating life. I've got more healing to do, or in the fitness space as well. Like, oh wait, I'm not like comfortable with my body. I don't want to start working out yet. And who knows, maybe there is some work that you need to do around that, but that can also be a trap where it's like sometimes it's where the rubber meets the road. That's where some more healing can come in. That's where things can come up that you can work on a deeper level. So yeah, I'd just love if you could speak on that for a little bit, that the inner work, but then just as you were hitting on like, cool, I got the awareness. What are some tools here? Like, cool, if I actually have a healthy relationship with my body and now I can do a handstand for 1 minute where before I could only do it for 30 seconds, like that's also a genuine way to build confidence. You know, that's a
Yeah.
genuine way to look at yourself and be like, wow, look how I've stepped up, look how I've progressed. So just from a fitness space, how have you seen that like actual physical progression in the outer world, like how that can also fuel that confidence? Because I think it's an important point as well.
Fucking 100%, dude. There's this, I'll quickly do this quick backstory. There's in the parts work, it's conversation based. You're talking to yourself and you're talking out loud to these different parts of yourself and using that as a method of self exploration. And in the parts work that I learned, there's these like 4 stages. Stage 1 is like knowing about the work or talking about it, but not doing anything about it. And then, or there's like not knowing about it, and then there's like knowing about it and talking about it. And then there's this big fucking gap. and then there's doing it, and then the last stage is being it. And when I first heard that kind of early on in my journey, I was like, what does being the work mean? And it was only until much later with like all this kind of talk-based therapy or talk-based basically practices that I started to have these different conversations, and I started to meet these different parts of myself, and I started to go on the journey of understanding them and truly getting to the point where I was able to be like, hey man, I actually love you. I've actually got you, man. That was a really hard journey to go on. There was a lot of time and practice in that time. But after a point, and I touched on this before, but it started to get to this point where in those conversations with those parts of myself, they'd start to be like, yeah, man, well, if you really love me, like you'd probably just do this, or you'd probably just stop doing that. And it stops becoming about the words. It's like, okay, well, maybe this, this insecure part of myself that desires validation, and be like, hey man, if you really just truly love me, why are you still just fucking going and criticizing your body in the mirror every morning? Why are you still just like every single time you go into the gym, it's about fixing some problem, a way that you're not good enough? And I've been having these internal conversations, and all of a sudden there's no more words you can say. You just run out of words. And you're like, fuck, the only thing left to do is actually show up differently in my life. And that's when I understood that, yes, you can't skip the earlier bits, or at least maybe you can, but I couldn't. But it's like going from talking and then doing it, and doing the digging and doing the healing. But when it becomes like the next step is like, okay, cool, the way that you're living your life is now more loving than any words can be. And what that looks like I think that it's really, really important to understand that it's not just about fucking more talking and affirmations and I love you. And nah, man, it's like, how are you going to live your life? And so for me, in a fitness sense, and this is something I always have a conversation with my client, the first consult before we even start working together, the first thing I want to do is get a really clear understanding of what would you fucking love to be able to do with your body. When you just like, it can be fucking anything, man. For me, I saw like gymnasts on the rings doing fucking crazy shit. I saw like people handstanding. I saw people like doing flips. I was like, that looks fucking badass. I'd love to do that. I'd love to explore and see what's possible with my body. I think as a man as well, I'm sure for women as well, but I'll speak from my own experience. There's this real sense of like, what am I capable of? What if I really apply myself? What fucking ceilings could I hit? And I think it's a healthy drive as well. It can be unhealthy, but I think it's a real healthy part of that. And so it's like, if I really dared myself to believe or to dream, like what would I fucking love to do? And then start organizing your training around that. Now, again, it can be fucking anything. It can be ocean swimming. It can be fucking bobsled. And if it is, like, I'm not the guy to go to, you know what I mean? Go fucking do bobsled, you know what I mean? Those guys are jacked. But like, for me, like when I personally found that organizing principle of like, okay, I want to do a muscle. And that to me at that time, even though I've been training, felt like a huge goal. And I was like, fuck, okay. And then, but training for that skill, when it's not just, okay, I want to look better. When it's a skill, when it's the way you look, the goalposts are always shifting. You're here, you want to look there. By the time you get there, you want to look somewhere else. Now, by the time you achieve a skill, sure, you want to do something else. But you've achieved the skill. That goalpost didn't shift and you ticked it and you're like, fucking damn, I can do that now. And then you can reset another goal that's higher. But you're achieving success along the way. And especially when you start with a movement skill, for example, whether it's a handstand or a muscle up or a one-arm chin up or wherever you're at, there's this real feeling of limitation in your body. I always like starting with the body, even for the self-love stuff, because it's a real high leverage. It's like a powerful lever that we can pull. The mind stuff, the emotional stuff can be a little bit nitty gritty. It's hard to start to speak those languages. But the body is like, if I jump in an ice bath, I'm going to fucking feel some shit, And so it's the same with the body. When we start these physical practices, when I start going upside down for the first time, I was scared. My body was scared. And that's a perceived limitation. It's a felt limitation. But then over time and through just a process of training, I started to overcome that limitation and be like, damn, that was really, I thought I couldn't do this. And now I'm doing it. But that I couldn't do. And then I train. I'm like, fuck on. Now I'm doing that. Now I'm doing strict muscle. Okay, now I'm doing one-arm chin-ups. What else could I do? I don't know. And it's the reason that the training stuff is so powerful. When you start with both something you care about, that's your organizing principle, and then you build your training around that. One, you get to enjoy all of the aesthetics and the stuff that comes with that. Two, you're way less obsessed about that. But three, you put yourself in a process of realizing and achieving a skill that allows you to experience the fact that you are more capable than you once thought you were. And that is the most fucking powerful thing that you can do, because that's the lived experience. That's the lived embodiment of being like, fuck, man, all of these things I thought I couldn't do, I actually can just work really hard. I can just do them. And like that has flow-on effects for the rest of your life. And that's why I really believe in building a training practice that helps you feel like that. Because my training practice before made me feel really insecure and want other people's validation. It's not like I don't care about those things anymore. I still like other people's validation. There's that part of it that's fucking all warm and fuzzy. But it doesn't run my fucking life. And now I'm training for things that are greater than that are more important to me on a deeper level. And then every time I show up to the gym, I'm like, ticking that box. I'm like, yeah, I am showing up. I'm in alignment with my values. That helps me feel more grounded. So training isn't just training, man. It's like, if you allow it and if you do the background thinking, it can be this vehicle for you to show you in all of the parts of yourself that you are about what you say you're about. And that's really hard to find elsewhere. You know what I mean? So it's a really powerful, tangible way of expressing your own values and embodying that fucking love that hopefully, you know, you want to do a little bit more of.
And to me, it's even building true integrity. You know,
Yes.
integrity are when your thoughts, words, and actions are in alignment. It's like, hey, I want to love myself. I want to be able to feel strength in my body. It's like, cool. Well, are you doing the things that would move you there? Because otherwise, you're just living in la la land. You know.
Yeah.
So I really like that point. And the cool thing is that it actually bleeds over into every other area of your life. So you do this in a fitness sense and you think, okay, well, this has to do with my body. But I loved what you said about the confidence. Cool, I'm going to set myself to acquire the skill that I don't know how like it's hard for me to do. But then you get there and then something starts to shift in your mind. Well, if I can do that, what else can I do? And you can keep going in the fitness, but then it bleeds over into other areas. Hey, like maybe that guy or that girl that I've always wanted to date that I thought was way out of my league. Like maybe I can get that too, you know, maybe I can start the business I've always loved. But because you've had a win in that one area, in your example, you grew up with fitness, it has so many bleed over effects in a healthy way. So I think that's it's so important and so crucial. And I'd love for you to just tell people a little bit more about like where they can find you. And we'll obviously put the links below to all of Fernandez's programs and trainings and where you can get in touch with him. But the last thing from what you said, and then we'll wrap it up, is I love what you said. It's like you have these conversations, you're doing this healing work, but then it becomes more about action. I've got a lot of friends, and one of my friends was telling me this. They've done like a lot of ayahuasca, and they're like, cool, in the first couple of sessions, there were things I needed to clear and come up. But like after a while, it's like Mother Ayahuasca would tell them, is like, well, what are you actually doing different in your life? You know, this becomes like a crutch for you, like coming on these plant medicine ceremonies instead of coming on them, getting a message and then going out and implementing that message. And that's what's so cool about your work and why I think you are a man of integrity, is because you've done that work, you've got the message. And now, okay, cool, I'm not going to be the homeless guy on the streets of Croatia. I'm building a business, you know, I'm taking that stuff and I'm seeing how I can integrate it into my life. And like you said, that's scary. That's where a lot of fear can come up. That takes a lot of real courage. But what I really appreciate about you and why I think anyone in a similar situation is looking for help in this area, Fernandez is the guy to look to, because you walk your talk. You know, it's not just something you read in a book. Your life is a living example of this. So congrats to you, man. It's amazing to see. Yeah, if you could just wrap up, where's the best place for people to reach out to you? We'll obviously put all the links below the podcast, wherever you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. But yeah, Fernandez, has been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, where's the best place for people to get in touch with you if they're interested to hear more about your work?
Yeah, dude. First of all, just thanks very much for saying that, man. I really appreciate it. And definitely, yeah, your opinion is one that I really respect. I think you're very much the same in terms of walking the talk as well. So thanks, man. I appreciate it. My business is called White Belt Training Systems, WHYTBELT, which is kind of like it's the first rank in the martial arts belt system. And I just really believe in that kind of beginner's mind, always approaching anything that you're doing with the same kind of curiosity of like a humility of a beginner. And it's also like knowing why you're doing things. So White Belt Training Systems is my business, and I work with people in a one-to-one capacity. I have like an online coaching program, which is a physical training program. It also goes into some of the mindset stuff as well. And if you want to find out more about that, you can head over to my website, whitebelt.com, whitebelt.com. But I also just really believe in putting as much out as I can as well. So the best places to go just to kind of learn more about the principles and the reasons behind why I do what I do. Probably the email list is the biggest one. You can head to my website and sign up for the email. There's like free resources as well. I've got a free handstand course. I write 2 emails a week. I have a podcast where I interview other people about movement and mindset and the intersection of those two things. And I also post on Instagram as well. And I'm at Fernandez_whitebelt. And you can check the links in the description for all of that.
Cool. Definitely go check him out, guys. It was such a fascinating conversation today. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks for being a part of it, Fernandez.
Me too, bro.
And for you, the listener, thanks for tuning in with your precious attention. We really appreciate it. And thanks for listening to The Magnetic Man. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Until next time on The Magnetic Man with Daniel White. Sleep well.
The Magnetic Man.